Hello, welcome to the Sound of Science, the place where we deconstruct unscientific bogus and silly scams. Let's go get them. Hello, welcome back my fellow critical thinkers. Today we're going to have a look at another silly video of dressed up dude calling himself Father Casey. He has a pretty successful YouTube channel called Breaking in the Habit with more than 300,000 subscribers. Dressed Up Dude has accumulated over 34 million views on his channel. As it appears, people still want to listen to Christian hogwash. But in the Western world, more and more people turn their back on the church. And why wouldn't they? The Christian church represents an invisible God who allows for murder, rape and torture to continue for thousands of years now. It's a God who starts off with genocide in the first chapter of his own holy book. And in the next chapters he tells you how to beat up slaves and how to kill gay people and non-believers. No wonder people have had enough of this nonsense. But people walking away from churches is a problem for Dressed Up Dude, because he will get less views and earn less money. So Dressed Up Dude is not pleased, but he has a solution, and that solution revolves around the same mistake that is causing his problem. Let's listen.
For years, it was not uncommon for people to drift away from the church in their early 20s. Living on their own for the first time and living a little wild got the best of them, but it was temporary.
Wait, that is your first mistake. Well, it's actually kind of a subtle word game you're playing. It only took you 10 seconds as usual. You see, drifting away from the church is not equal to living wild. It just means that you don't want to waste time on an invisible God anymore. Maybe people just want to make their own decisions about their own lives, choose their own lifestyle, express their own identity, without being told what to do by some sky dictator. You can't blame them for that.
When they wanted to settle down, when they needed a foundation to build their life on, more times than not, they returned to the faith of their youth, leading some in our church today to look at our current crisis and repeat that old line, "Don't worry, they'll come back." There's nothing to worry about. This is the way things go. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this is simply not the case anymore. They're not coming back, and the sooner that we can accept this, the sooner we can do something about it.
Well, that is bad news for you maybe, but for those who liberate themselves from the delusion of an all-present God who watches their every move, for those people who liberate themselves from a religion that tells them what to do and what not to do, this is good news. Those people who do not return to your church, they found their real destination in life. They want to live a life of freedom in which they make their own choices. You should be happy for them.
Today, more than a third of Gen Zers identify as religiously unaffiliated, by far more than any other generation.
And that's just in your country, the USA. In huge parts of Europe, a majority of young people is non-religious. And that is exactly what's going to happen in your country as well.
More than a momentary lapse in church attendance during their early adult years, this is simply the norm for their lives. Only 40% reported attending church service as a kid, and only 42% of them attended religious education.
Yeah, religious education. There's nothing educational about that. What you mean is religious indoctrination. Yeah, let's try to brainwash those kids as long as possible, even when they go to university and even when they study topics that have got nothing to do with religion. Even then, you still try to implant this foolish idea into their heads that this unproven God of yours exists. Leave those kids alone. Just give them a chance to develop their own free minds. In the end, even you will benefit from that.
For this generation, they're not coming back because they were never here to begin with. Unlike previous generations that could fall back on their childhood faith when they need a strong foundation, there's nothing to fall back on for most youth today.
Oh, but they've got everything to fall back on when they leave your church. The ones who have the guts to step out of your cult, they are the strong ones. They've got themselves, their own identity, their own dignity, their own freedom, their own creative minds, their own ideas, their own friends, their own family, their own careers. By saying that these kids have nothing to fall back on when they leave your church, you reduce them to religious minions who can't stand on their own feet without your supposed God. That's not very respectful towards them. You should celebrate that free people in a free country make their own choices and seek their own destiny. Have you ever considered to look at it that way?
Meaning that young people are not going to show up at our door. They're never going to have a reversion and one day get involved. They're not out there just waiting for our church to get our act together, and as soon as we have good programs, they'll come flooding in.
Yeah, but maybe they would think differently if you hadn't told them nonsense for the first 20 years of their lives. So if you want to blame someone, take a look in the mirror.
They're going to get married outside the church, have kids, not introduce them to the faith of Christ, and not think twice about it.
Yeah, so that new generations of young people grow up without being brainwashed by your church. That is good news.
It is time, I think, to change our entire approach.
Yeah, me think as well. What you should do is drop the whole God nonsense, ditch that silly and violent Bible book of yours, and transform your church into a secular, educational, and charitable institution that only has one goal: improving the lives of people. Fire all those priests, popes, and preachers. Build a new modern organization in which people earn their position based upon merit and achievements, and punish all of those who have abused people within your church. That is what you should do.
And to get there, I'd like to draw your attention to Jesus' parables in Luke 15.
And we're back at square one. You're going to try and find solutions in your Bible book, while that exact Bible book is the source of all your misery. That Bible book and everything it represents is the main reason why people turn their back on your church. They don't believe the nonsense stories anymore. They cannot accept the violence and discrimination in your Bible book anymore. And they no longer wish to submit to the arbitrary rules of your supreme leader as proclaimed in your Bible book. If you want to get people back to churches, ditch the Bible book and start reading people from sources that make sense, sources that describe reality, sources that respect everyone for their own identity. That is my free advice for the dressed up dude. For the rest of you, my advice will be join the club. Hit that subscribe button, and then I will make more videos in which I will critically review Christian nonsense and other nonsense. Thanks.